the Justice and Constitutional Development Deputy Minister Andries Nel. Good morning, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much for your time today. This has understandably rattled the Muslim and particularly the LGBTIQA+ communities. To stress, we don't have all the information yet, but it is being labelled a hate crime from certain quarters because the Imam was openly gay as well as a prominent activist for gay rights in the Muslim community. Your reaction?
So very good morning, and thank you for the opportunity, regrettably, to be participating in an interview under these very, very sad conditions. We convey our condolences to the family and the loved ones of Imam Muhsin Hendricks. We also extend our condolences to the broader ulama. Imam Hendricks was a South African that we can all be proud of, a South African that I think we can all aspire to be, someone who is very deeply committed to humanity and to caring for others, to providing safe spaces for those who are oppressed and marginalized in our community. Regrettably still, despite our constitution, the laws and the efforts of government. He took the initiative to create things like the Inner Circle as far back as 2011 to provide that safe space. Secondly, it's particularly painful and ironic that Imam Hendricks, who was a proponent of Islam, a religion that values peace and humanity. One of the most powerful verses for me in the Holy Quran is verse 49:13, the Surah Al-Hujurat, which says that we made you from men and women into nations and tribes so that you may know one another and not despise one another. And I think that's the fundamental underlying ethos of Islam, despite some of the theological positions on same-sex relationships. And I'm also very, very glad that both the Muslim Judicial Council as well as the United Ulama Council have been forthright and being unreserved in their condemnation of this terrible crime.
Yeah.
You correctly point out that we can't at this stage yet say whether it is a hate crime. I have been in constant contact with my colleague and counterpart, the Deputy Minister of Police, Deputy Minister Polly Boshielo. Even this morning, she has given me an update on the investigations. She has indicated, without giving further details, that they are hot on the heels of the suspects. I've also been in touch with the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission, Reverend Chris Nissen, who are also seized with the matter in which we will be working with together.
I want to pick up, if I may, Deputy Minister, just on one of the themes you've touched on now, Hendricks' work challenging some traditional interpretations of Islam, championing a compassionate, inclusive faith. Our constitution was amongst the pioneers globally to protect people from sexual discrimination. We were the first country on the African continent to legalize same-sex marriage. At the same time, we live in a country of religious plurality with conservative interpretations of where the line between constitutional freedoms and religious edicts are, which may oppose some rights. And just for clarity in the South African context, which trumps which?
The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is the basic law of our country. It's the foundation stone of our nation and of our entire existence. And there is nothing that can trump the Constitution. And I think it's to the credit of organizations such as the Muslim Judicial Council and the United Ulama Council that they have indicated their particular theological positions, but at the same time, they've been unambiguous in reaffirming the values of our constitutions, the values of tolerance, of plurality, and of human respect. So I think we need to be completely unambiguous that there is nothing that can trump the regrets and unfortunate use of words in the current context, regrettably, but there is nothing that can trump the Constitution.
Deputy Minister Nel, I want to go to some of the themes that my colleague in Cape Town, Nasipi Same, was teasing out with the guest that she had, the intersections of a number of different themes in this killing. It was a killing, what the motivation was and so on still remains to be established by law enforcement. But if you look at the hate that's expressed in some quarters online, what does the Constitution enshrine and eschew when it comes to hate crimes, particularly the caution for those who might be openly celebrating his murder?
The Constitution has or protects a number of rights. It does protect the right to freedom of speech, but I think that our Constitutional Court has repeatedly emphasized that whilst there's no hierarchy of rights, the right to human dignity is probably the most fundamental of all human rights. And it is based on that Parliament in May of 2024 adopted the Prevention of Hate Speech and Hate Crimes Act. That act is now law. We are working tirelessly to finalize, in conjunction with a number of other departments, including the South African Police Service, the regulations that will give effect and operation to that act. We hope that that will be done in the very near future, and that the President can then give assent, or he has already assented to the law, but he can proclaim its operationalization. That act provides protection against hate speech and hate crimes, and imposes severe penalties for those. In addition to that, the Department of Justice, together with the police, the National Prosecuting Authority, and civil society, have established a national task team against hate crimes, and in particular against the LGBTIQA+ community. That national task team has as one of its substructures a rapid response team, which brings together justice, police, NPA in dealing with cases exactly such as this one. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, what's so interesting, and just to wrap things up, Deputy Minister, Hendricks came out as gay in 1996, and of course, at that time, it shocked the wider Muslim community in Cape Town and elsewhere. But then he goes on, as you mentioned this morning, to found an organization that provided support and a safe space for queer Muslims who were seeking to reconcile their faith and sexuality. He goes on to establish the inclusive Masjidul Ghurba Mosque. And so we wonder, you know, what happened now, 29 years later, if it's related to that, why this attack now, which is why the investigation becomes so important in terms of what it would yield to explain a potential motive. And I just wanted perhaps a closing thought from you about, and you've touched on the themes of tolerance. You've again reinforced what the Constitution says. You've also reinforced the message that whatever religious edicts or fatwas are given on certain matters, it's got to always conform to the Constitution of this country. And we can't be naive about the fact that in certain sectors in religious jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence, this is a capital offense. This is an offense that in some cases is punishable by death, is my understanding. And I'm open for anyone to challenge that understanding, to come to a different understanding. But, you know, there is quite a hardline position in certain sectors around that. Just the reinforcement then around tolerance, around the caution of what we express in public around hate and intolerance. And again, that division between the laws of a country and the conflict then between religious edicts.
Imam, thank you very, very much. I think I cannot agree with you more. You have, in a very passionate and eloquent manner, expressed, I think, sentiments that are shared certainly by myself, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, the South African government, and many, many millions of South Africans, including members of the Muslim community and the leadership of the Muslim community, who have been unambiguous in their plea for tolerance, despite whatever views, theological views that they might have. I think it's incumbent upon us as government, working together with civil society, to not only ensure that we enforce the provisions of our constitution and the law, but that we work tirelessly to create that climate of inclusion, of respect, and of human dignity. It's so important, because one of the foundational statements of intent of our constitution in its preamble is that exactly we need to work to a situation where each and every person in our society can develop their full potential. It's impossible to develop your full potential if you are the subject of hate and discrimination.
Deputy Minister, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. This story will continue to watch, especially for developments from law enforcement. Deputy Minister Andries Nel there.